New tonight, as the CDC pushes controversial new policies, Hawaii is joining forces with 3 other Democratic states in a new public health partnership. The governors of California, Oregon, and Washington have formed the West Coast Health Alliance. They say it's in response to the Trump administration's, quote, destruction of the CDC. Today, they announced Hawaii has joined the alliance to coordinate public health guidelines and vaccine recommendations that will be, quote, grounded in science, not in ideology. Hawaii's governor, who's also a physician, said in a statement, Hawaii is proud to join the alliance to ensure public health decisions are grounded in science and not politics. He went on to say that it's critical as an island state to protect our communities from preventable disease, and that move will give Hawaii's people evidence-based guidance they can trust to keep their families safe.